honourable member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians can't afford this costly Liberal NDP coalition. Now, these Liberals have showered Liberal friends like Frank Bayliss with $237 million in COVID contracts. They gave $28 million to Liberal donor Pierre Gay off the Roxon Road, and they shoveled over $54 million to a couple of guys sitting down in their basement that created the ArriveCan app that should have been built for under $250,000. So why is it that Liberal insiders under this Prime Minister always get rich while regular Canadians have to pay more for heating, eating, and fuel?
The Honourable Minister for Rural Development.
Mr. Speaker, I tell you what we can't afford. We can't afford not to do something on climate change. I want to put some faces on not acting on climate change now. I want to talk about Norm, who saw his wife washed out to sea. I want to talk about Amy and her daughter, who were literally ran from their house without shoes on their feet. I want to talk about Smokey, who was pulled from the ocean by his brother. I want to talk about Brian Button, who has had to have sit-down conversations with over 100 homeowners to tell them that their homes are destroyed and condemned, and there's more on that list. I want to talk about the people in Burgeo and Burnt Islands and Blanc, Foxwoods, Marguerite.
The honourable member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if that minister actually cared about those Canadians, he'd make life more affordable by cutting off the carbon tax. You know what? Right now, we just continue to prove that this Liberal NDP coalition is out of touch with Canadians, and Canadians are out of patience with this government. Canadians are suffering from the Liberal-induced inflationary crisis, while their Liberal friends are rolling in cash. Now, if the NDP and Liberals truly cared about average Canadians, they wouldn't have voted to triple the carbon tax. So what does this Liberal NDP coalition have to say to Canadians who are skipping meals and using food banks, well, because of this government's...
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to continue my narrative because I was talking about Canadians' lives. That's what was impacted by us not acting on climate change and not acting on climate change now. I've seen people go through the rubble looking for their parents' urns of ashes. I've seen people looking for memorabilia.
Okay, the Honourable Minister from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm talking about Canadians' lives. I'm talking about the lives of people who have lost their homes, their belongings, their memorabilia, everything that they've lost because we have to do something on climate change. We have to do something now. We've seen the hurricanes in the Atlantic. We've seen forest fires. We've seen drought. The cost of inaction is only going to get worse. I hope nobody has to stand up in this House and talk about a life lost in their riding because of inaction on climate change. Everybody needs to act on this, and we need to act on now.
The honourable member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker.